Empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, put 8 feet, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
Welcome to the Scoop Boat Order. We are going dancing, ladies and gentlemen. The Utah Utes came through in a major way for the Buckeyes. We are going to the playoffs. They defeated the USC Trojans in a incredible 47-24 rout. The Bucks needed one win to get in. They got the one they really needed. Today at noon, we see the TCU K-State game is going to go off on ABC. I'm sure everyone will be tuning into that because there's a chance we could see Michigan in the first round. If not, likely Georgia in the Peach Bowl. But holy cow, what a turn of events over the last week. There's been a lot of downtime. A lot of people have been in the dumps. Players have been in the dumps. Been trying to keep those guys' spirits up. Just try to keep them. Hey guys, you better be ready to roll because you might get your golden wish, and it just happened, and here we go. So we're gonna get a shot at either likely Michigan or the Georgia Bulldogs in round one. But as always, thank you guys. As always, I've met a bunch of you in person recently. You guys just randomly say hi to me and say, hey, love the show. Really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. You guys have no idea what that means. Glad we add a little bit of fun to your day. We appreciate it. We really record this. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like down below. Click subscribe. If you guys want the most, BuckeyeScoop.com. That's where we're at all day, every day. If you enjoy the podcast and you want more, join our message board. It is going to be on fire for the next 30 days. I can't imagine a greater Christmas gift than getting ready for New Year's Eve versus the Georgia Bulldogs or the Michigan Wolverines. So BuckeyeScoop.com. Subscribe now. Buy a subscription to your loved one. They'd love it. That being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you this morning?
Doing so good. Last night was glorious. We told people before this weekend that not only was it possible that Ohio State would make into the playoffs, it was probable that they would make it into the playoffs. And, I know a lot of people were like, what are you talking about, Nevada? And it's like, no, you had two really, really close games. Well, one of them already just went down, and it went down in a rout for the other team. Oh. So, we are one game away from a rematch with Michigan, which when you think about that, that is a crazy thought. It's never happened before. I would make the argument that if that happened, it would be the biggest, even though it wouldn't be the national championship game, that it would be the biggest game in the history of college football. I think it would be the most viewed. It would have the most interest. It would be unlike any of us have ever seen before. And it'd just be nuts. And we're one Kansas State victory away from it. I'm telling you, Kansas State's a good football team. Kansas State had TCU beat earlier in the year, and they're a good football team. They could beat TCU. And if they beat TCU, we get the Wolverines and their little flag. They can bring the flag out and plant it at midfield before the game. They can do all that stuff. I don't think Michigan fans are happy today. I don't think Michigan fans are happy. And that pleases me. That makes me very happy.
Oh, they're scared to death right now. They really are. Because they've really been talking a lot of shit over the last week. And it's been like, oh, I got 365 days. Like, no, you might have like 29 days and you get to see us again. So you don't get this big ramp up until next year. Oh, and it's up in Ann Arbor. And you don't have CJ Stroud. All of a sudden, you might see CJ Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Trey Henderson and all of our merry friends getting healthy. So, Nevada, what are your thoughts as to how dangerous is this Buckeye team now that they're in the playoffs?
Well, I just think when you give a team second life, a week ago, all hope was lost. I remember I had gone to watch my son run cross country on Saturday, and came back to the board on Saturday night, and things were a little gloomy. People were a little bit down, and we just decided, we just waited right in there, and we're like, no, at that point you have two choices. You can either run and hide, or you can kind of address it full speed ahead, and let's talk about it. Let's see where we go, and that's what we did. And I'm so glad that we did, because now a week later we're sitting here and everything we want is still in front of us. And if we play Georgia the first week, look, Georgia's a terrific team. But, we've beat some terrific teams in our history. We beat 2015 Alabama, which was a really, really good team. We beat 2002 Miami, which could have been the best college football team, one of the best college football teams of all time. So we can play with Georgia. We can play with Georgia. Now we may go there and we may get beat or whatever, but we'll be ready. And redemption, when you have when you have a chance to right a lot of wrongs, boy, that can do a lot of things for teams. And I know I was talking to a lot of Ohio State people last night, and they were going crazy. The energy was palpable. I cannot even imagine what it's like around the Woody Hayes. It's got to be crazy. Well, you lived through a little bit of a redemption story yourself in 2007, and big redemption story actually, where you kind of turned around. It didn't have a happy ending. You guys were a little bit outmanned there at the end, but you guys gave LSU hell for a little bit and almost pulled off the upset.
And that's the thing, and this team's much more talented than our '07 team was. First round quarterback. We had Todd Beckton, great player. Wasn't a drafted guy in the NFL. So, when you have a higher level quarterback, it helps. When you have skill guys, really good offensive line, that travels. And honestly, I think that you're going to have an angry, motivated staff. I mean, these guys, last time they're out there, they got their asses kicked. So it's like now all of a sudden they're going to show up and look like you don't get second chances in life almost ever in sports. You don't, but this is like you've been brought back from the dead and all of a sudden you're the team that nobody wants to see because, when these kids go out to practice for the first time during bowl practice, the OTAs, they're not going to take it for granted. They're not going to say, oh, another practice, oh, another bowl game. It's like, no, they got a chance to win the real thing. They were close to going to, the Orange Bowl. They turned down the Rose Bowl, like meaningless game. Half the team's going to opt out to now you get to see the real Buckeyes at full strength again, which, there was a thought we wouldn't see that ever again. We thought that, is the whole line going to opt out or the tackle's going to opt out and the quarterback and their receiver, you had no idea, We might see Jackson Smith and Jigba again. He's getting healthier. Trey Henderson getting healthier. They have a month of rest. I mean, it's like 3 bye weeks, and you keep these guys in shape, keep them conditioned. Hey, I'm telling you, anything can happen. And if there's one thing that would be miraculous, imagine breaking the huddle and you have Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Emeka Ibuka at wide receiver. That's terrifying. And teams haven't seen that basically all year outside of the first game and maybe a couple snaps throughout the season. Imagine Georgia having to get ready for that. That's terrifying. Nevada, we'll go through the 2 scenarios. Obviously, if TCU wins, we're likely the 4 seed going to the Peach Bowl against the Georgia Bulldogs. If TCU loses, we're likely the 3 seed, assuming that Michigan wins. I mean, I just assume Michigan's going to smash Purdue. We're going to the Fiesta Bowl to play the Michigan Wolverines. What are your thoughts? Let's start off with the game part 2, Ohio State, Michigan, Fiesta Bowl. What are your thoughts on that matchup a second time around?
Oh, well, first of all, it would be the most expensive ticket in the history of college football. So if you're a fan, get your tickets. I usually say on games like that, the ticket price was coming out. On that one, I'm not sure they would. That would be like a Super Bowl ticket. I mean, it would be crazy demand. You'd be watching college football history, but from a preparation standpoint, you've got 2 teams that know each other really well. Like you said, Jackson Smith and Jigba would be odds on to be back. So would Trey Henderson. Short of having guys injured in the interim, we'd be as healthy as we would be. And, Michigan just had Blake Corum out for the year with his knee surgery. So they're not getting any healthier. They'd be about the same. And from a motivation standpoint, I mean, I like it. There was a movie a while ago that one of my favorite, you talk about sports movies, and this is never on the list, but it might be my all-time favorite sports movie. There's a movie called The Best of Times with Robin Williams and Kurt Russell, and where they go back to play the high school football game that they lost their senior year, and they go back and play it years later. And it's always kind of resonated me about you going back in time. You can't go back. You can't right wrongs. And that's a big theme, I think, in my life. I always look back on stuff like that. And the Ohio State Buckeyes have a chance to come back 30 days later and right all the wrongs with the same team. It's not a different team that's going to go up there in Ann Arbor next year and try to right the wrong. It's the same guys that had the flag planted on them a week ago. Now that might scare some people. It doesn't scare me. That excites me to no end. And like I said, the best indicator of all is just go on the Michigan boards. Go on the Michigan boards and see how terrified the Michigan fans are right now. I mean, the Michigan, so much for your conference pride and I root for the Big Ten. We got 2 teams in the conference in the playoff. Michigan fans are they're trying to burn the playoff down because Ohio State's getting into this. So they are so unhappy. So as an Ohio State fan, that should please you to know that all those Michigan, all those little Wolverine guys that were all running around flapping their mouths are so unhappy and terrified right now because if we get that rematch, I'm telling you, it's a different ball game, different set of circumstances, and I know Ohio State would clearly.
So, what do you expect to change tactically for Ohio State versus Michigan this second time around? Now that we get a second crack at the Wolverines potentially.
Well, I think I really believe that Ohio State will see what happened the first game. I think that they'll. I mean, I think they'll attack Michigan a lot like Utah attacked USC last night. You saw Utah run that tight zone inside power game a lot, where they were just going straight ahead and hurting Michigan with that. Some of that bootleg action with the quarterback, um, and kind of a more direct attacking style against the Wolverines. I think that's offensively what you'll see, and I think defensively, Knowles has talked about mixing up coverages a little bit more, mixing more zone, more man. Playing some cover 0, less cover 1, moving around, working into a cover 2 shell high, working in some mint, because I know you love the mint defense. I know that's
Oh my god,
something
I love it. I'm gonna make up a bunch of words and say this is what these things are.
and so
Super fly snooker defense. I got my
super.
Bose, my Bose case defense. Like, good god.
Yeah, I think they're going to run the shell monkey swing gate high to option right, and I think that'll serve them well. But no, I think look, Ohio State's going to have a chance to break down every play that they made a mistake on, and make changes. And again, I'm telling you, Michigan. Nothing about Michigan scared me the first time we lost the game. We've talked about this ad nauseum on our podcast. But I've been in games that are scary. I've been in games where you didn't really feel like you had an answer for the other team, and that's not how I felt against Michigan. I felt like J.J. McCarthy played the game of his life, played a perfect game. We missed some tackles, we made some mistakes, we were hesitant, and offensively, I think we met the enemy and he is us. But I think we'll be able to. I think we'll be able to dictate terms on both sides of the ball, and again, I think that's why Michigan and Michigan fans are so upset today because they don't want that rematch because this is a very talented Ohio State team. And, with teams, you're looking for that one game where they put everything together on all 3 facets and special teams and offense and defense. We haven't done that yet this year. We've been waiting, and we're due. I'd say we're overdue to have one of those games. And if we play that way, our best is good enough to beat anybody. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the bigger thing is we played our worst game by far. Like, we had more dumb penalties. We had more, explosives. I mean, they're not even explosive. If they go for 6 yards, they're like nuclear. It's not just an explosion. It's like a nuclear bomb type play where it's like, 50 plus yards for touchdowns happened 5 times. Like, that's impossible to recover from. I think offensively, you just got to take advantage of your opportunities. I mean, there's some things like the fake punt. Obviously, that was something that was a major foobar where we should have cashed in on that. I honestly just think the guys played tight. The guys that they made mistakes. A lot of pressure at home. A lot of pressure to get that 12-0 and go to the Big Ten championship. And the guys just got to play loose now because now it's like literally you talk about playing with house money. They're in the dance. Like, nobody wants to see them, but they're in the dance, and they've been one of the 4 best teams. I mean, honestly, if you put a gun to my head, I'd say Alabama's one of the 4 best teams, and take TCU out, then you'd have the real top 4. But I don't think Bama's going to get in. But I think if you're Ohio State, you get another shot at Michigan. You just fix the defense. Like, you don't have to run cover 0, cover 1 every snap, man to man, because that killed us. Because again, if one guy misses, it's a house call, and it happened 5 times. So eventually, you got to get off that super hyper aggressive defense. And offensively, if you can get mine a little healthier, you can get Trey a little healthier, and just ride Dallin. Our O line played fine. I assume Matt Jones would be ready to go, which would be great. And then if you had Jackson Smith and Jigba, even if it's just for 15, 20 plays, that's huge. And again, I don't know. He's already tweaked it twice. We're guessing he's going to be on the right side of positive to move towards the game. Is he going to strap up and be a warrior and go? It'd be amazing if he did. I'll tell you what, that add a lot to his Buckeye lore because we hadn't seen him at all this year, and he was the preseason Bolitnikoff winner, and he didn't do anything. He got hurt a couple times, and injuries happen, but it'd be a nice way to kind of enhance his Ohio State legacy on his way out the door to come back, play against Georgia, play against Michigan. So we're going to switch gears now to if we make the Peach Bowl and we see the Georgia Bulldogs. Nevada, your thoughts on the Georgia Bulldogs? I think they're very, very much a shell of what they were last year. I think they're very talented still, but they're not what they were last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously offensively, Stetson Bennett is what scares me just because that kid's a gamer. He's a gamer, dual threat kid. You know how much I love those dual threat quarterbacks. I thought we saw that on display last night with USC. I mean, Caleb Williams, first quarter when he was healthy was unstoppable. They moved right down, scored 3 times, and then he hurt his leg. And the last 3, he couldn't move. And Caleb Williams went from this unstoppable force to this very pedestrian quarterback. And I think, Georgia really, Stetson goes out there and he hangs out. It reminds me a lot of the Utah quarterback. Plays tough, runs the football, throws opportunistically. But like you said, they lost 9 guys or 8. I don't know how many first round picks they had last year, but it was obscene. And 9 drafted guys off their defense. So they're not as good as last year when they were absolutely terrifying, but they're still darn good. But beatable. I mean, absolutely beatable. They've played games this year close. They're a very, very good football team. But Ohio State's a very, very good football team and a loose football team. And I think it's a team that you could come in there, control the clock, play your game, attack them. I know that Ohio State will feel everybody from the players to the head coaches to the assistants to the support staff will feel like we're playing with house money because it did not feel like things were going to break our way after what happened last Saturday, and now we're sitting there coming back against Georgia, have a chance for redemption, and I know we'll play fast and loose. Will that be good enough to beat Georgia? Well, we certainly can, and I certainly couldn't wait to see that one too. So that would be a great matchup. It's going to be an unbelievable environment. Lots of Ohio State fans there. Obviously lots of Georgia fans down to the Peach Bowl. I know they're going to put on a great show, and that'd be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think, for Georgia, C.J. Stroud's the best quarterback they'll have seen. They haven't seen anything like him in the SEC. Obviously, they've got a lot of talent in the SEC, but, CJ's a special cat, man. He's a guy that can throw it. And if you had Jackson Smith and Jigba, can spread these guys out a little bit. We've got 2 really good pass-blocking tackles. I mean, anything's possible. I think our defense is going to have a massive chip on their shoulder after laying an egg against Michigan, giving up those long plays. I think Jim Knowles is going to be supremely pissed off just because, he had it cooking and you were top 15-ish, top 10-ish defense. And then, we get the breaks blown off us by Michigan. And, it's going to be a different type of motivation. Like I've seen this before, like when we talked about 07 when we lost to Illinois, we, crapped the bed. Then all of a sudden beat Michigan. Then we had to sit and watch all the games and we just saw all the dominoes fall and we ended up being the 1 seed, played LSU. But, you don't take it for granted when you get a second chance at winning a national title or a second chance at, going to the playoffs or whatever it is. And it adds a big shot of adrenaline to you, especially when you're out and all of a sudden you fold back to being into it. And I think our guys are going to do great stuff. I mean, I think these guys are excited. These guys were in the absolute dumps all week. Talked to a ton of people in the program. Dumps, it's finals week. These kids are studying. They don't want to leave their house. They're a bunch of, hermit crabs because, again, they got bludgeoned by by the best damn fans in the land. And honestly, it's a nice lesson to tell people maybe you should wait before you just tee off on these kids in this program, because a lot of these kids, they mean well and they do well, but man, some people are just so impossibly stupid when they deal with these kids on social media, on any other platform. And look where we're at now. We're back in the playoffs, after some of these kids got just destroyed, beat down. And these kids are sensitive. I mean, you probably don't think you think they're these big hulks, but these guys are sensitive. And I told them, like, guys, stop reading that shit, because all it's going to do is pollute your mind, ruin your mind. Because again, those people have no jurisdiction on you unless you read what they say about you. So it's just a little note. These kids are now going to have a chance to win a national championship. And would it be the ultimate FU if these guys run the table and win a national championship after losing to Michigan at home? Everybody left them for dead. No Big Ten championship. Because, I mean, it's not like this hasn't happened. I mean, Alabama beat the tar out of Georgia last year in the SEC championship, won the SEC, and then had to see Bama again in the championship, and Georgia dog-walked them. So, there's precedent for this. I think all the motivation is on Ohio State side, which is amazing. Nevada, what final thoughts do you have as we launch into this magical 29-day run on BuckeyeScoop.com? We are going to be grinding for inside information, the latest team reaction. What are your thoughts for the listeners, and maybe why they should give us a shot on our message board?
Well, nobody has better information than we do. It just, about college football in general, or Ohio State in particular, that's been proven out over time. Our message board is so much fun. It's alive. It's one of the more positive places, despite all the negativity. And there was definitely some negativity on our board as well, but nothing quite like some of the boards. We have a really positive board. We have a very upbeat look about Ohio State. And to just echo your point to the fans about the social media, I mean, I think people feel like on social media they just have the right to tee off on any of these kids, and I've heard the argument, well, these kids get paid some NIL money, so now they're fair game. And I'm like, man, I don't care how much money you make. Social media, I mean, I look at how Kevin Durant, who's a centimillionaire / billionaire guy, is paralyzed because of the criticism he gets on social media, and it can hurt. And like now these same guys that you were trashing a week ago, you're gonna have to be cheering. So you got to be careful about what you say on that stuff. And like I said, if you're looking for a positive, kind of uplifting Ohio State experience, want the latest news from inside the program, join BuckeyeScoop.com. We have that every day, 24 hours a day. Have stuff breaking. We broke stuff yesterday. We'll break stuff today. We'll break stuff tomorrow. And would love to have you as part of the community. And again, thanks again for blowing up all these videos, because our video numbers have been absolutely off the chart. Our podcast numbers have been off the chart, and it's all because of the great listeners and great subscribers. And sincere thank you at this time of thanks. Just want to say thank you so much to everybody for subscribing, because you guys you've made us, and we really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, my man. All right, we're gonna wrap this thing up. As always, we are thankful for you guys. The world famous Ohio State Buckeyes and the world famous Buckeye Sweep. I might jack that from Augusta Johnson. I kind of like it. We are grinding along. I'm telling you, the board is on fire. The info is on fire. I already got feelers inside the Woody Hayes. These guys are all gassed up, ready to break down either Georgia or Michigan. What a spectacular weekend it is going to be. TCU is kicking off shortly. I'm going to get this thing uploaded ASAP. But we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a like down below. Comment, shout out where you're from. It's my favorite. Love hearing where you guys are from. It's the best. What do we need to do to beat Michigan if we get a second crack at them? Write that down in the comments. I love your opinions. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. You guys are the best. I will see you guys on BuckeyeScoop.com. Be there all day. Huge game thread, all the championship games. Follow along with us. So we appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great Saturday. We're in the playoffs. Get your dancing shoes ready. Get on BuckeyeScoop.com. Appreciate you guys. Go Bucks.